We've been doing a lot of ebonics on this show. It's probably gonna. I apologize. I'm sorry, guys.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down to Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat The Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And each week, we take a look back in time, decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover one, and choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie takes to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all our information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, if you'd like to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel, where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing today?
Gene, or as I also love to call you, Oh Captain, My Captain. This week, Rob F. has decided to kindly inspire us. He's going to nurture our creative spirits. He's going to teach us to be different and better and to challenge the norms. And this week's film captures rebellious youth, tragic beauty, desk-standing angst, boys, books, bottled up emotions in an all-male prep school. Think, Gene, The Breakfast Club plus Good Will Hunting times The Crown Season 1 repression. That equals this week's film. It is the 1989 American coming-of-age drama, Dead Poets Society.
And Rob penned us a letter to explain his commission. He said, he writes, I recall desperately trying to rent Dead Poets for months after the Oscar chatter rendered it a hot commodity at my local Blockbuster. I didn't know what to expect when I finally got my hands on a copy. I had only heard it was a must-see. And wow, did it leave an impact. The film explores a variation of an old theme, inspiring impressionable young minds who are both presented with an expanse of unlimited opportunity, but also confined by strict expectations imposed upon them by others. I myself was attending a stuffy Northeast private school at the time, an institution similarly steeped in pretentious traditions, just like Welton Academy. And while it seemed obvious that students benefit from having a far greater number of Keatings and far fewer number of Nolans, these places never figured it out. Shat also hasn't featured too many Robin Williams, R.I.P., films in the catalog, and this may be his finest performance. The cast is also full of talented young actors from the time. Upon recent rewatch, the pacing of the movie felt a bit slower than I remembered, but the larger themes of pursuing nonconformity, challenging convention, and living a full life continue to resonate today. Carpe Diem, seize the day, boys. Make your lives extraordinary. P.S. I've commissioned 2 dramas, so let's go for another commission with less gravity on my next one. Dealer's choice here, perhaps something more fun. What do you say about more Tom Cruise? I'm thinking either The Firm or Jerry Maguire. Let's make it happen, Rob F.
I'm all on board. I mean, after we did Magnolia, I'm willing to give any Tom Cruise movie a chance. And just like this one, I think it needs to be revisited. Because what do you think of when I say Jerry Maguire?
Arizona Cardinals.
See, I think of show me the money. You think of all the lines similar to Carpe Diem. I think they're similar films, Academy, Oscar award winning, but people remember it for those few lines that almost make it seem less serious or less valuable. It seems almost like it would be something to laugh at now in hindsight. But after this film, I would definitely be more excited to even rewatch that again.
Now I just keep thinking about the 2009 Super Bowl. Thanks a lot, Rob.
Was that with the Steelers? Was that like the
Yes.
touchdown in the end zone at the end?
Yes. Santonio Holmes' foot was out of bounds. Just saying. Rob, I'll be honest. This commission made me nervous. Like many children of the 80s, I was deeply inspired by Dead Poets Society. And this comes before I'd ever been exposed to goth culture or any serious literature beyond like Where the Red Fern Grows. That was about the extent of my emotional depth. But the entire premise of Dead Poets Society, as you've beautifully explained, and my experience with Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting, this felt like the ingredients for a rude awakening into a forced and hammy Dead Poets Society that I had forgotten or not understood as a young, impressionable guy. I was prepared to have my memories absolutely desecrated, gripping the armrests of the couch as I hit play.
So, Gene, I have to agree. I was not looking forward to this film, but for different reasons. I generally hate the entire genre. I don't like the inspiring teacher, uplifting students, let alone affluent students who have, I traditionally say, have very little to worry about. I went through the list. I'm like, okay, let me think of possible good ones. Stand and Deliver, no. Lean on Me, no. Dangerous Minds, no. Finding Forrester, no. School of Rock, no. I was not looking forward to this. I thought it was going to be another hammy, stereotypical, boo-hoo, my life is so hard. I need Robin Williams to come save me and show me that being unique and special is a good thing. I was very wrong.
Well, Dead Poets Society is a 1989 coming-of-age drama directed by Peter Weir and starring Robin Williams. Set in 1959, it tells the story of an English teacher who inspires his students through his teaching of poetry. The film was a commercial success and received critical acclaim, grossing $236 million worldwide against a $16 million budget and becoming the fifth highest grossing film of 1989. The film earned numerous accolades, including Academy Award nominations for Best Picture and Best Director, as well as a Best Actor nomination for Robin Williams. The film won the BAFTA Award for Best Film, the César Award for Best Foreign Film, and the David Di Donatello Award for Best Foreign Film. Tony Schoolman received the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay for his work. Let's hit the trailer.
Dare to walk a new path. Dare to strike out and find new ground.
Audiences and critics have found a new and different kind of movie. A movie that's left them cheering and touched their lives.
Yes!
Touchstone Pictures presents Robin Williams.
Well, is this a dagger I see before me?
In the most highly acclaimed movie of the year, Dead Poets Society.
Language was developed for one endeavor, and that is
To communicate.
no. To woo women.
Gene Shalit hailed Dead Poets Society as a classic, one of the most magnificent motion pictures I've seen.
Tear out the entire introduction. Rip, shred, tear.
It's a compelling drama. Robin Williams' acting will astonish you. Rave sneak previews.
This is a battle, a war, and the casualties could be your hearts and souls.
And Joel Siegel proclaims Robin Williams brilliant. Robin Williams, he'll make you laugh.
I like fire and I give him a 42, but I can't dance to it.
He'll make you feel.
Seize the day. I'm gonna do it!
He'll make you care.
Medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits. But poetry, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for.
Touchstone Pictures presents Dead Poets Society. Discover for yourself what all the cheering is about.
In 1959, Todd Anderson begins his junior year of high school at Welton Academy, an Episcopalian all-male preparatory boarding school in Vermont. Todd is assigned one of Welton's top students, junior Neil Perry, as his roommate, and through Neil meets Knox Overstreet, Richard Cameron, Stephen Meeks, Gerard Pitts, and Charlie Dalton. On the first day of classes, the boys are taken aback by the unusual teaching methods of their new English teacher, John Keating. A Welton alumnus who studied English literature at Cambridge, Keating encourages his students to seize the day, referencing the Latin expression Carpe Diem. Big D, the film opens up with a ceremony at Welton. We see the kids getting prepared to march through the Great Hall. Looks very Hogwarts. They've got their banners with all the virtues of the school displayed. Everything's very choreographed. And it took me back to all the ceremonies that I've been through. Now, I'm at the age now where most of the kids in our family have all graduated from high school, graduated from college. I'm not doing these ceremonies as much anymore, but it used to be these really uncomfortable settings that I oddly enjoyed. I would sit down, I would see the pomp and circumstance. It felt nice to mark a big achievement with all this tradition. But lately, I've been getting these invitations to webcast ceremonies. Have you done one of these?
No.
They basically just give you a link. You pop it up on your TV. There's no sweating in a stadium. There's no trying to get a good seat. There's no listening through the countless names of people you don't know. You just grab some drinks and snacks. The whole family's there in the living room. You party, maybe eat some pizza, and then your person comes up. Everybody's in their shorts and t-shirts, sweats, it doesn't matter. You just enjoy that one moment. You're sitting on the couch, air conditioned. It's a beautiful thing. Do you have a preference?
Oh, without a doubt. I think you have to have that ceremony. I think it's lazy to not do it. At the time, I'm sure you were, a lot of kids were like me, that you were just like, oh, I want this to be over. The gown is hot. It's uncomfortable. I want the summer. I don't want my family here. But in the end, that's the time you remember. You get to see your friends with their parents. You get to see the families. Everyone's sitting out there. It means something. You go out, maybe get dinner. There's a formal end to it. You need it. My parents rented a van and drove to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for my basic training graduation. That road trip, and it meant a lot to me that they took that distance and that step to come be there for me. If they'd been like, hey, we watched your web clips, that was great. We saw you crash. That's trash. Make the effort. The kids made the effort to graduate or achieve something. Go make the effort to see them.
Let me sweeten this deal for you, okay? Though, imagine this. So there's a ceremony happening, right? So it's being webcast. So the kid's going up there. As the kid goes up, it's like watching college football. Their photo comes up on the screen during the webcast. You got their stats, their quote. You actually get to see their face, learn something about them. Right in between, it's not just name. I'm torn on this. I love the tradition, but at the same time, it was really nice to just get loaded on beers, eat a bunch, and hang out with the family until your person comes up. And you're like, oh, cool, there they are. Look at that.
Okay, that would be funny if the information was put in by fellow students, like pop-up video. There were stats like, did you know that John also vomited in another student's locker? He missed over 75% of his calculus classes. Give me stats like that, maybe. But like the general run-of-the-mill school stats, I don't want to see that. And I don't generally ever want to see these movies, like I said, where kids are in school when they have no problems. I want kids that have problems. I want kids that have something to really be upset about. And coming off of Toy Stories, which we recently did, I'm like, oh my God. Okay, prep school, we got them tradition, honor, discipline, excellence, Ivy League. They're in their little ceremonies. And I start thinking, we got more elite boys, prep school, powerful families, high expectations. I've seen it before, but there's a difference. Here, unlike the boys in Toy Stories, they are unique kids. It's not like they're a trope. Within a couple of minutes, each of the kids, you see what their unique pressure is. You see the struggle that they're going through. It's not just stereotypical cookie cutter. Okay, you've got the father who wants you to be a doctor. You've got the engineer. They're all unique, and it feels real. So surprisingly, I did not expect this. I start getting invested. I'm like, oh boy, I can feel the stress on these kids. Where normally I'm just rolling my eyes, like, boo-hoo, poor rich kid. Daddy wants me to be a doctor, and he's got me. I'm going to go have dinner with another powerful family. I felt for these kids. I don't know how the hell this happened. And when later on Neil gets put into the situation where he wants to play Shakespeare, and Dad comes out there, I actually cared, Gene. I don't know when I've ever cared for the fictional student who's affluent in a private prep school.
But it all felt very familiar, right? It's a setup of these privileged boys that are kind of precocious, right? We get to see this other side of them when the doors are closed. They're smoking in the dorms or doing one another's homework. They're mocking the core values, right? It felt like things we'd seen before. And I don't know if Toy Soldiers has totally warped my brain, but I kept wondering when the Colombians were going to attack and like how these boys were going to get out of it. But their situation seemed a little more mundane.
No, I wanted to see these guys tackle the Colombians. when they are in that room and one of the guys is breaking out a ham radio, the other ones are studying like Latin and math. These kids would have got, even this is the 50s. You could have put these kids from the 50s in the 90s in the toy soldier school. They would have gotten out. They would have subdued the Colombians. They would have been free because these kids were smart.
But you mentioned Neil, though, and the pressure from his dad. So for people who haven't seen the movie or haven't seen it in a while, the story with Neil is that he's not privileged like the other kids, right? His dad and mom had to kind of scrimp and save.
Hold on. You saw his house? That's not privilege. That's a generous definition.
Okay, what I'm saying is he doesn't come from old money.
Okay.
That it matters a lot to his parents that he makes it. He's not like the other kids where he could just go into like investment or something like that. He's got to actually become a doctor. He's got to support himself.
Okay. I didn't want you to like make people think this was some kind of wonderful where your dad was a mechanic and you were coming home with oil on his hands.
He didn't get a fucking scholarship to Welton. Like he's, this isn't Good Will Hunting, right? He's not a fucking janitor.
Okay. Just checking. I didn't want to let that slip.
But anyway, you see this pressure from his dad. Did your parents like put pressure on you to become something?
No, I wish they did. My sister was an overachiever, and I just kind of skated by. And luckily for my mother, she pushed me to at least fill out the application for college. So no, I had very little expectation.
I think we're having a breakthrough here, Big D. We used to think that our only bond in making this podcast and getting along was that we were New Yorkers, but no. It goes far deeper than that, Big D, because I wanted pressure from my mom. And my sister was also an overachiever. My mom, she always told me, Gene, you could be anything you want. Anything in the world you want to be, you can do it. But she never pressured me into any particular field, right? So my sister, the overachiever, she went on to be a physician. She got married in her 20s. She had her babies in her 20s. She opened up her own practice and all that stuff. She was pregnant in med school. She pulled it all off, right? She's always been that kind of an inspiration. Me, I went with journalism, which I really loved. Like it was my calling. But in hindsight, like you, Big D, I really wish my mom had insisted I go into medicine. Just a little bit of pressure. Maybe, hey, once you graduate with your bachelor's degree, why not a master's? Why not a doctorate?
No, I think it's a mistake. You enjoy journalism.
Recently, Sarah and I have been spending a lot of time with doctors, visiting the hospital, the birthing center. I'm meeting nurses, I'm meeting doctors, and they got a cool thing going. There's like all this teamwork, lots of smart people. They got their own language, and there's so much authority that comes along with that. And so many ways you could like directly help a person. Like you can actually see that you're making a person's life better right in front of you. That's a very cool job. It's a very cool job. And I think it's fairly future-proof, unlike journalism. But I made a mental note to at least encourage our daughter to go into medicine. Okay. Her mom's a doctor. Her aunt's a doctor. Her uncle's a doctor. We got dentists in our family. Not to say you have to do it, but like give your kids something to at least rebel against, right? Like, here's your starting goal. I think you make a great doctor. And they're like, no, my passion is playing puck in Midsummer Night's Dream. And I'd say, okay, if you really love doing that, then you can do that. That's fine. Don't tell your kid you could be anything you want. There's too many options.
But how did she take the news? Did she put you down? Did she tell you were making a mistake, or did she embrace and love you?
Oh, no. Yeah. She said it was great. She said, because I told her, I said, Mom, I said, copy editor is the kind of job where once I'm out of college, all newspapers need copy editors because nobody likes to do that job. And I love doing it. I said, I can write my ticket anywhere. Chicago, New York City, Paris. I can go anywhere I want because they'll always need copy editors. Always.
Yeah. That didn't hold up too well.
Keating has the students take turns standing on his desk to demonstrate ways to look at life differently. He tells them to rip out the introduction of their poetry books that explains a mathematical formula for rating poetry, and he invites them to make up their own style of walking in a courtyard to encourage their individualism. His methods attract the attention of strict headmaster Gail Nolan. Upon learning that Keating had been a member of the unofficial Dead Poets Society during his time as a student at Welton, Neil restarts the club and he and his friends sneak off campus to a cave where they read poetry. Keating's lessons and their involvement with the club encourage the boys to live their lives on their own terms. Knox pursues Chris Knoll, a cheerleader who is dating Chet Danbury, a football player from a local public school. and whose family is friends with his.
I think if you talk to people about this movie, if you told someone we were reviewing this, they would remember, as I mentioned earlier, the lines. The famous lines of poetry, which it's used to motivate the boys. And Robin Williams, as Mr. Keating, he fills the film with plenty of these lines of poetry and philosophy. Carpe Diem is the one everybody remembers, but it's almost somewhat cheesy at this point. But it's not the only truth that he offers. And by encouraging the boys, they stand up on the desk and he's reminding them. He says, find a way, look at life from a different angle. He warns them if they wait too long in life, they're not going to find themselves and they'll miss out on chances. And he's driving home that Thoreau warning, which rings true to me now as a man in his middle ages with a daughter. And I start to question, you're worried about dying. And I question about what I do each day with my time. And he says, most men lead lives of quiet desperation. And that quote hit me. It's true. How many of your friends go through the daily grind, unhappy, unfulfilled? And this movie, although I think it is some cheesy lines that people remember, there's so many life lessons that are woven through it that give the film a lasting resonance that I wasn't expecting. And I don't think I gave this movie a chance when I was younger. Or even if I did, I'll be honest, I don't know if I would have absorbed it or it would have changed anything. But there's a lot of profoundness in what he's teaching beyond these famous quotes.
It doesn't hurt that Robin Williams knocks that Carpe Diem speech out of the fucking park. It's impeccably done. You can't laugh at it. You can't make fun of it. You can't parody it. It's solid. And that's really important because trying to inspire teens, it's tricky. Like teens think they're fucking too cool for school, right? I saw so many instructors attempt this when I was in high school. They no doubt saw this movie and wanted to be Keating. And it would usually lead to my classmates wondering if the teacher was gay or crazy or gay and crazy. But Robin Williams, he delivers this speech in a way, it flattens any cynicism. And it's because it gives them the why before he tries to teach them the how and the what, right? You could teach poetry. You could do that mathematical formula, right? But that's not giving people a reason to be invested in it or learn. So you show them the faces of the people that came before them. You show them the passion in their eyes. You tell them that life is fleeting. Now you've got the buy-in. And Sarah, she does this all the time when she's teaching Krav. A lot of these instructors, they'll show you the technique. Okay, somebody puts a gun in your face. Here's what you're supposed to do. Which, by the way, if I could take a moment, listeners out there, there's this misconception online. I've been seeing a lot on Twitter that Krav is all like magical disarms. That's not what Krav Maga is. It's only like the goofy part of that you see. We understand that when somebody pulls a gun and puts it in your face, you are probably going to get shot if you try to disarm that person, right? That's not the idea. The idea is try to get control of the weapon and attack that person and give yourself like a fucking 3% chance of survival. But yes, of course, just hand over your fucking wallet. Don't be an idiot. Anyway, back to the movie. Sarah will always start with a real world implication, right? It's not you're being choked from behind. Now here's how to defend yourself. She'll say, this person is choking you from behind. And the reason why they're doing that, because they want to take you to the ground and kill you or pull you into a van and rape you. Now you've got their attention, right? Now it's like, okay, well, what the fuck am I going to do about it? Keating is doing the same thing, but he does it so well where these boys are entranced by him, and you can see it on their faces. Initially, they're a little incredulous, right? But by the end of it, he's got buy-in, and you get buy-in for 3 of them, then you got buy-in from 5 of them, then you've got, and not all the class comes around. He's not a miracle worker, but you're seeing this happen before your eyes, and it's believable.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's not like a miracle where the whole class is like, wow, this is great. They're still to the very end, the final scene. Not everybody's up on their desk. He got maybe 50% of it. And you see why the kids love him. He's so different from what they're getting in their teachers. He's breaking them out of the normal, regimented, structured life and questioning why are they doing things. And it's great. And I think that's something that even I've struggled with recently. Last episode, I talked about that we lost our family cat. And Emma and I were there, and it was an emotional moment. And I tried to explain to her, I said, as a guy and as a dad, I'm just saying my personal experience, it's difficult because as a man, I was raised, stay strong, you don't cry, don't show weakness. And it's encouraged that I could be that rock. Women, I feel, can be vulnerable. Women can be emotional. There's no judgment of that. But men, we're told, keep it inside, suck it up. Don't just drive on. Just pain is weakness leaving the body. And I liked watching these young boys dive into poetry. And like I thought that thing you said, Gene, where, oh, these guys are kind of gay. But no, I loved it. And it made me think back to when I was younger and when I was growing up. And I thought back to listening to the Smiths and Morrissey. Both of us are fans. And I remember Cemetery Gates, where he's talking about going into the cemetery and reading the headstones. And they talk about Yeats, and he talks about Keating or Keats, Yeats, and I forget the last one. But he's talking about how you should enjoy life. Think about it, the time that's coming, that our time is short. He's got the kids looking at the pictures on the wall. And it's something that I wish people could be guys. We should be more emotional. We should be able to share our feelings. And I had a moment this week in the High Emotions of the Pet where Vanessa got upset at the way I'd reacted, because the way I deal with tragedy a lot of times or a stressful situation is I almost dial, like we were Westworld. I would dial down my emotional settings, because then I can make rational decisions emotion free. So she thought I was being cold. I was being aggressive. I was just being matter of fact in things. And I said, unfortunately, that's the way I deal. And I think a lot of men are like that. So I wish we could do more of this, the poetry, embrace it, and embrace the sensitive side of us, because even though we're guys, I think we still have it in us.
Yeah, Barbie, the movie, did a great job of demonstrating how toxic masculinity doesn't just hurt women. It puts men in a cage. Like, we're not free to express the full spectrum of emotion because that's not manly. Think about that. That's a freedom that you give up, right? Like, you have to be tough. And there's this notion that boys, if you don't emotionally mutilate yourself as a boy growing up into a man, your peers will do it for you. If you don't cut those parts out of yourself and slice yourself up in the way that you feel, other men will do it for you. We're fucking horrible to each other in that way. And I get where that comes from. Just yesterday, I saw this little boy. He was at a college football watch party at our friend John's house, Commissioner John's house. And this kid cried like 7 times in the course of an hour over the smallest shit. And everyone's like, dude, this fucking kid, like, he just keeps crying. I get it. You want to tell the kid, hey, toughen up. Like, what are you crying about? You're at a party with your friends. There's a puzzle, there's games, there's cookies. Like, what is your problem, right? And so there is that need, like you said, where, dude, you got to get your shit together, right? I think the balance is, at least in my life, is I've always sought to fully experience and express the emotion, right? It's okay to tell people you're afraid. It's okay to be afraid, or tell people you're sad, or that you're happy, or that you're angry. That's all okay. But you have to be functional in spite of it, right? That's what the toughness is to me, is to acknowledge I'm feeling this thing, but this thing is not going to get in the way of my responsibilities, right? And as long as you can do both of those things at the same time, I think it's very healthy to express yourself, and I think it's incredibly unhealthy to hold that shit back.
Agreed.
And speaking of kids, Big D, as parenthood looms, I've been paying attention to kids for the first time in my life. I've been blind to them for 40 years. And what I've seen, it sort of scares me. Like, I've been watching kids in Sarah's family and my family. They're addicted to tablets. They're addicted to phones, just screens in general, right? At restaurants, on road trips, at home, even camping. Sarah's niece asked her grandmother the other day, what's the Wi-Fi password? They were out camping and could not grasp the notion that there is no Wi-Fi here. There's no internet. You are camping. And I've seen the kids get irritable when they can't have it. They're like a junkie, right? They've even tricked me. I'm not kid savvy. So they'll ask me if they could do something innocuous on the tablet, right? Can I do a drawing? Can I take some pictures? And I go, okay. And then their parents will ask me, hey, what is she doing with your tablet? I don't know. She's taking pictures. No, she's not, dude. No, she's not. That's how kids work. She's online. And I'll look, yep. They're sending Snapchats, to people I haven't talked to in 6 years. And in all of this, I've heard 2 balancing opinions on the issues, right? One is that being online is awful for kids' brains. It's brain rot. They're getting this addiction, which I've seen. And the other one, though, is that if you don't let the kid get online, it's going to set them back because the other kids understand technology, and not having access to that technology, your kid's going to be behind when they get later in life. Increasingly, Big D, I don't know if I buy that second argument. Reason being, I've seen old ass people figure out the internet just fine without growing up with it. And I think that the technology is becoming more and more intuitive, right? It's more and more user friendly. AI is kind of bridging that gap. I don't think that a kid who doesn't have access to a screen is going to be held back. I think instead the most important thing for a kid to understand as we enter this like always online age of AI is the humanities. It's what we're seeing in Dead Poet Society, right? Philosophy, literature, history, linguistics, the arts, law. Watching this movie, it felt really timely. I was glad that Rob gave us this opportunity because this is that rare blockbuster. If you think about it, they don't come along very often that focuses squarely on humanity rather than practicality. Like this, like it did with Rob, this could save a kid.
So I think everyone's going to have their own answer. It's not a simple one size or one solution for every parent. A lot of times you feel tired and you will give a phone but we have basic rules. She will not get a phone until she's like 15.
Smart.
Once you open the gateway to a telephone, the world is just, you can't roll it back in. And she gets upset because she's 9. Half of her friends have a phone, and it's generally parents of divorce. One of the parents who lives maybe further away will give the kid the phone as a way to stay in contact. But what that does is just drive a further wedge. So Emma does not have it. She has an iPad, and she has limited time, especially during the school year. And if she does anything, she will lose it. But there is a third thing you should consider, Gene. We embrace the fact of together time with the iPad. So if she's playing, if it's say 8 o'clock at night and she's got a group of 3 or 4 friends online and they're all talking and playing together, I'm okay with that. If she's sitting alone scrolling through like YouTube, I won't let her use anymore. She can only use kids' YouTube because the ads that were getting pushed to her. But half the time, if you don't pay attention. So I sat down when I was driving with her to softball for a weekend, and she explained to me a game that she plays with her friends called 99 Nights. It's a game on Roblox, and I know Roblox is dangerous with there's dangers everywhere.
You banned her from it for a while, right?
I did, but she was younger, yes.
Okay.
So it is a world where almost as if like Legos, people can create games, and yes, they take advantage of the producers of the game. It's not perfect, but the 99 Nights game she plays with, I came to realize her and 5 friends enter a forest, and their job is to defend themselves against this group of like cultists and a deer that wants to like get them with their horns. So they have to all work together. So Emma goes, Dad, I don't understand. My friends, I told them we have jobs to do. You go collect firewood. I'll go get meat. You set up the defenses, and then we'll all pool our money to upgrade and get a crock pot. Then we can have food with less work. And she's breaking down how to elevate a company, Gene. She is a project manager. She goes, my friends don't understand. If we pool our money and all work together, she goes, I told the girl to go collect firewood. She did it for 2 days, and then she just ran away. And if I didn't take the time to talk to her, I wouldn't realize that there are life lessons. She goes, now I understand what you mean when you say save my money for something more important. And she related it to an item by upgrading the workbench in their collective camp that would help them defend themselves. And in the end, when she made it to 205 days with her friends, I high-fived her and I said, fantastic job. And the acknowledgement at the work that it took for her to project manage. She's an office manager trying to wrangle this group of 5 kids to protect themselves from a red-eyed killing deer and cultist. I was okay with that.
I mean, office manager is one way to look at it. Chairman Emma seems like another way to look at it.
But you just got to find whatever works for you.
Neil discovers his love of acting and gets the role of Puck in A Midsummer Night's Dream, despite the disapproval of his controlling father. Keating helps Todd come out of his shell, resulting in his spontaneously composing a poem in front of the class. Charlie publishes an article in the school newspaper recommending that girls be admitted to Welton. In response, Nolan paddles Charlie, attempting to force him to reveal who else is in the Dead Poet Society. but Charlie remains defiant. Nolan also confronts Keating, advising him that he should discourage his students from questioning authority. Keating admonishes the boys, warning them that one must assess all potential consequences of one's actions.
I think that's important, Gene. We have to assess the potential consequences of one's action. And that includes Keating. Keating's Carpe Diem, the message, seize the day. It's powerful. You watch it and these kids are going to break free. I think he should have set up some guardrails. I think that would have been a good idea. These boys were like little animals that have been in a petting zoo, and he lets them out in the highway with no parameters. Give them some limits. Have them understand. Because the idea, being bold, be brave, seize the day, it feels good. In theory, it's good. But when you hand these to these pampered kids, impressionable, who have not been out there in the real world on their own, you're playing with fire. Keating lights this fire in these kids, and they're out there and they start running. I'm like, oh shit, this is going to go bad. I know something's going to happen. These kids are going to push the boundaries. Something is going to happen, and it does. Knox, he's in love. He's drunk for the first time. He's been doing shots with the football players. And he's on the couch, and the girl he loves, Chris, is there. And she kind of sits next to him. She leans her head back. And he's thinking, Carpe Diem, seize the day. And I'm thinking date rape. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, yes, seize the day, but maybe not now. He's playing with her hair. He's leaning in. And he's thinking in his head what Keating said, seize the day, seize the day. Respect the boundaries. In 89, this was probably like romantic. This is like Sandlot, where the kid tricks the lifeguard into the mouth-to-mouth. But I feel like there's a lot of dangers here that Keating didn't set them up, whether it was your dad and what Mr. Perry might do. Give him some boundaries.
I mean, the kid in the Sandlot wasn't drunk as shit, right? I get where you're coming from, but Knox was pretty messed up, and he's in a room full of people making out. This is not a predatory behavior. This is me yesterday eating 20 mini chimichangas, or Seth peeing in the King Bee's dishwasher. Just had a little bit too much to drink. Yes, he violates that girl. He is responsible for it. But I don't think he knows what's happening. He's drunk and it's like, oh, everyone's kissing and I want to be kissing too. Now, if in this movie he'd snuck into like a room where she was sleeping, that's a different story. But he was in the makeout room. People were making out.
Dude, that was more than a makeout room. That was like a humping, like that was a
sock hop.
Oh, and the way they film it, did you notice? Like when she leans her head back, there's almost like a little filter that comes onto it.
Yeah.
I was
his drunken haze.
Yeah, I'm not saying he was to blame in that, right? But just at least set him up. Hey, your dad might get upset. I know you want to go play puck, but let's dial it down a little bit. Let's take it easy. But these kids, they don't know.
Yeah. On that note, by the way, Big D, this is the part that actually shocked me was not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but since you brought it up, Keating knows that Neil is lying to him when he says that he got his dad's approval. Yeah. And he doesn't at that point put up a red flag and go, dude,
yeah, he knew.
I know you're lying to me. Don't do it. This will not end well. Like a little advice might help.
So he is culpable.
Yes.
At least a little
100%. Yeah.
But Gene, I also want to talk about something. At this point, a lot of times we famously confuse or combine movies. I found myself, I continued to think, God, at what point does Brandon Fraser show up and we have to deal with the whole Jewish student thing? I was like, how is Keating going to diffuse the Jewish student and all the anti-Semitism?
I thought you were going Encino Man, and I was very confused, but okay, that makes more sense, yes.
No, I was thinking of School Ties.
Yeah.
I thought, thankfully, there was no Brandon Fraser. And instead, we get these boys at the hour turn here where, it's all been happy. They've all been out in the clubhouse. They've been having a good time. And now, it's going to get dark. And I'm wondering what's going to trigger it. And everybody's got that friend. You've got the King Bee. I've got a couple friends that will remain nameless. But that one person who pushes it too far. For the Dead Poets, it's Charlie. Why, Charlie? What's the point? He sneaks that letter into the paper. First, he brings the two girls and booze into the secret clubhouse in the rocks, and he puts this into the paper that calls the group out. Then he calls the school out for not letting girls attend the school. On one hand, I get it. It's a noble idea. He thinks that Keating would have supported it, but it's fucking stupid, dude. Don't blow the cover. Talk to them first. It pisses off the faculty. It pisses off the families, everyone. It starts to unravel just because this one dude couldn't. Dude, you got girls up there. Let it go. Ride this out instead of just fucking it up.
There were so many points in this movie where I kept yelling, stop advertising your secret society. Like, they start telling people about it. You got articles in the paper penned by the Dead Poets Society. The cool thing about Dead Poets Society is that it's a small circle where you can let loose. You put on your cool hoods, which, by the way, Welton Academy apparently gives people like wizard cloaks, and you go out in the mist and you go to the cave that's miles away and you read your poetry and you share your snacks. That sounds cool. When you make that circle bigger and you start telling people about it, it loses its power. It's not as special. And like you said, Big D, you risk the whole thing falling apart.
I do need to ask you one question here that's kind of tied to this. When they meet up, they all bring food.
Mm-hmm.
They throw it onto their little, like the jacket. They all poo-poo raisins.
Yeah.
Why? Why the hate for raisins? Do you hate raisins?
I love raisins.
Okay, thank you.
But I will tell you, I host the occasional movie night at our gym, and we've done Bloodsport and we've done Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I always bring candy and I do trivia for everybody and they can win candy. The least popular candy by far is Raisinets. Nobody likes Raisinets. I think they're great.
What?
Yeah. It must be an old man thing.
Really?
Yeah.
No, that's shot. They like snow caps?
What's a snow cap?
You shut up. It's like the little hump. It's like a little, think about a snow-capped mountain.
Okay.
It's a little like a hill of chocolate with like the white sprinkles on top. It's like a non-Perel, but they're smaller.
Oh.
Shut up.
I never had that.
Wow. Okay. Dried fruit's good with me.
If I'm trick-or-treating and somebody gives me like one of those, those little tiny boxes the sun made raisins with the lady on it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'll devour that shit. They're delicious.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. On the eve of the play's opening performance, Neil's father discovers his involvement in the play and demands that he quit immediately. Keating advises Neil to stand his ground to prove to his father that he takes acting seriously. After Neil performs in the play, his father retaliates by withdrawing him from Welton and enrolling him in Brayton Military School. In response, Neil commits suicide using his father's gun. At Neil's parents' request, Nolan investigates his death, and during the investigation, Cameron shifts blame onto Keating to avoid punishment for his role in the Dead Poets Society. He also names the other members of the group. When Charlie confronts him over this, Cameron urges the other students to let Keating take the fall, and Charlie punches Cameron and is expelled. So, Big D, if one thing surprised me about Dead Poets Society, it was Ethan Hawke finally slotting into a role that I enjoyed. Full disclosure, I've never really liked the guy. I've never been impressed with his performances in the films that we've done. He's always felt sort of stiff and out of place, playing the cool guy or the dorky guy that's secretly cool or the secretive guy that's cool. Here, we get Ethan Hawke where he's supposed to be, an introvert with poor self-esteem and lots of feelings that he can't effectively express. He's excellent throughout the film, but it culminates in this scene where he falls apart in the snow after Neil's death. It is powerful. It's heartbreaking. And it really made me a believer. And it really helped me see what apparently everyone else sees in Ethan Hawke.
And the way they film this suicide, you don't know if it's either he's dreaming, his father's dreaming, if it's what he's thinking about. You don't know how real it is until that scene out in the snow. And Ethan Hawke, he kills it. And all of these young actors kill it. And there's the scene up now where you have the one kid who's ratted them out. And we've done however many movies now. We've done like 470 movies. And we've had characters do horrible things. But Cameron, that little fucker in Dead Poet Societies, he made my blood boil. Neil's dead. The boys are devastated. The school's hunting for who are they going to blame. And instead of sticking together as a group of friends, Cameron sells out Keating, and he has that meeting up at the attic, and the guys are saying, no, Neil loved to act. That's what he wanted to do. It's not Keating's fault. So Cameron's pushing all these boys to save themselves. He says, let Keating fry. Why ruin your lives? And Charlie hauls back and blasts him in the mouth. Bloody nose. I screamed yes. The betrayal of Cameron hit me in a way I didn't expect.
This is incredibly petty in the review of a film this significant, but I'm with you, Big D. I wanted Charlie to beat the living shit out of Cameron. When he finds out that Cameron ratted out the Dead Poet Society, he punches him in the face, and Cameron responds by telling Charlie, "You just signed your own expulsion papers." If some kid in the attic, a hidden part of the school grounds, tells me I just signed my expulsion papers, dude, you're right. And guess what? Because I know I'm getting expelled, me and the rest of the Dead Poet Society are going to absolutely thrash you. You're getting fucking curb stomped, dude. That kid is not coming out of there with a single tooth in his mouth. I was furious.
I totally agree. I would be furious because Keating had lit a fire in them. But if you take it from the faculty side, pretend we didn't watch the film. We're the adults. We're maybe the parents of the kids who are involved, the teachers. There's a dark angle. There's a cynical side that you could twist this and understand their take on it. Because if you heard that John Keating, okay, he had this completely different style of teaching, and if we didn't know it was noble and he loved the kids, and they just said, yes, he's encouraging these boys, to just question authority. He told them don't listen to their parents. He's got them sneaking off into the woods in their cloaks, smoking pipes. There's secret messages and books. They got girls up there drinking. And these actions would logically make you question, is he a predator? Is he doing something that maybe we have to question? There's an alternate narrative where you can understand the parents who don't understand Keating and see him as maybe nefarious. It's not like he's being portrayed where they know he's innocent. They can see it from their perspective that he is the cause of the suicide.
So I had a gut feeling that you'd reimagine this movie as a horror flick, possibly like collaborating with your beloved Chat GPT to whip up some Dead Poet Society reboot, but not in this way. My money was on, there's a scene where like Neil picks up 5 centuries of verse and he's like looking at it and it's got like the writing in it from the previous Dead Poet Society and stuff. And I'm like, fuck, like Big D is going to want this horror movie where anyone who reads this book and joins the society, then they end up going mad or committing suicide. But you're absolutely right on this Keating thing, Big D. This guy shows up at the school. You've got kids misbehaving. You got kids abandoning their life goals, disrespecting their parents, killing themselves, drinking, writing in the school paper, going and making out with people's girlfriends and causing trouble. Doesn't look good for him. And really, when you think about it, academically, has he taught them anything? Like, we have no proof of that. There's no exam that they aced their poetry exam or anything like that. You don't know.
No, at the end, when like the principal or whoever, the dean steps in and says, what have you guys done? And they all go, well, we kind of jumped around a little bit. And he's like, well, what else have you done? I really don't know. And think if you're Mr. Perry, right? You've had this conversation with your son. You've told him, no, don't do it. Then you pull up to the performance and there is Mr. Keating running up to him like, you're amazing. This is great. You should continue to. It's almost as if you're intentionally undermining the parents' like parental direction you're giving him. So I would also be like, Keating, get the fuck away from my son. I told him not to do this. And now you're grooming him to roll around on stage up there. I don't want this for my son.
Well, each of the boys is called to Nolan's office to sign a letter confirming Cameron's false allegations. When Todd's turn comes, he reluctantly signs the letter under his parents' pressure, and Keating is fired as a result. Nolan, who had taught English at Welton prior to becoming headmaster, temporarily takes over Keating's English class. As Keating interrupts the class to gather his belongings, Todd confesses that the boys were pressured into signing the letter that led to his dismissal. Keating assures Todd that he believes him, and Nolan threatens to expel Todd and anyone else who speaks out of line. Despite the threat, Todd stands up on his desk and says, "Oh, Captain, my Captain." The other members of the Dead Poet Society, except for Cameron, along with several other students in the class, follow suit. Touched by their support, Keating proudly thanks the boys and departs.
It's a little late for them to do that, Gene, but I appreciate it. The thank you. We could have used you guys to stand up a little earlier, but I appreciate it. And Robin Williams, we need more of his films. Fisher King, please. I've never begged for a commission, and I might have to do this as like a birthday gift. I might commission it myself. Who knows? Fisher King, I love. But Robin Williams, he's fantastic. And he's mastered the art in watching this of the mentor. You know, he's played many roles from the genie to, you think about it across the board. None of his roles are very similar, but he does the mentor in 2 films that are famous and got Academy Award nods for him. And he did them in different ways. Here you got Keating. He's the voice of inspiration. He's urging these kids to seize the day. He sees the world through a new lens. It's idyllic. It's positive. It's exciting about a larger life. And then you have Good Will Hunting. There he's more a damaged, sour version of that character, more cynical. He's the last stop, and he's Sean Maguire. He's a therapist, and he has, Will Hunting, and he's trying to get Will to believe that he deserves love. And it's about sparking a revolution or a belief in oneself in a different way. And he's trying to save that one person from self-destructing. It's almost as if Keating has elevated and grown into Sean Maguire. It's like the same character, but after a life of mentoring these kids. And I think of the 2 roles, obviously he got it for Good Will Hunting, but I think this is as good as like Robin Williams gets. He was such an amazing actor. We learned we lost way too early. He was fantastic.
I agree with you that Dead Poet Society is as good as Robin Williams gets. But to crib a line from you, Big D, Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting is huffing his own farts. I said that when we did the Good Will Hunting episode of Shat The Movies. I'll say it again here. His character in Good Will Hunting is so self-involved that no actual young person would connect to him. Right? Will would be out of there, dude. The genius of Mr. Keating is that he does not share his own pain. Like, he makes it all about the boys. He keeps his shit to himself. Even when he loses his job, he keeps his, stiff upper lip. He thanks them. He's a professional. The world needs heroes like Mr. Keating. It doesn't need codependent old men like Sean Maguire.
Oh, so cynical, Gene.
I didn't like that character, man.
Gene, you didn't want to get into a car and go find out about a girl. You didn't want to just drive out there to California. You're so cynical.
And listeners, before you rebel here, I did give Good Will Hunting like 2 wipes. So it wasn't a bad movie. It's just not Robin Williams' best.
And also, listen to the very end. I think I gave an alternate ending to
surprise.
Yes, that little fanfic at the end there that even you said, hey, that would be a good ending.
Yeah, be better.
So good. Yeah. But I would love to see what you thought the first time you watched this. Because after we've done 470 movies, I'm cynical. I have certain things that I expect will happen. So coming into this, I thought it was all the same formula for these kids, inspirational teacher. We get it 100 times, Gene. It's going to be save the teacher moment where the kids come in and they show how they've changed and they're going to fight the system. Even summer school, we got a different variation on that. It was the parents coming in saying, hey, my fuck up kids are now better. It's because of Coach Shoop or Mr. Shoop, the summer school teacher. Dead Poet Society doesn't play any of that. Nobody's coming to save Mr. Keating. The students are scared. The parents are mad. That's it. It's the end. There's no one is going to do anything to save him. They're going to protect themselves. It's sad. It's frustrating. You feel hurt, but honestly, it's real. It's realistic. This is what would happen at the end of the film. You can't fault the kids. You understand the situation, and it's just sad on all fronts.
I had a false memory of the "Oh, Captain, My Captain" scene being some sort of a win where they all stood up for him and he got to keep his job. But I got to ask, Welton Academy, did nobody interview this guy before hiring him? Like, what are your thoughts on teaching practices? What about the textbook that we're using? Did they review his student record? Be like, oh, well, that's really weird. This guy was a member of says here, Dead Poets Society. What's that all about? I just hope that people watching this movie realize that Keating didn't lose ultimately. It is not a happy ending in the sense that Neil kills himself and the blame gets laid on Keating and he loses his job and these kids lose a teacher that they love. All of that is sad, yes. But sometimes understanding victory is about understanding the objective, right? And Keating is practicing what he preaches. He would rather inspire one class of boys to stay alive inside for the rest of their lives than teach a dull curriculum for 30 years and have a job. You know, he says when he's asked, why are you here? You could be anywhere in the world. And it's like, I love to teach. He will be just as happy teaching elsewhere, right? This is just one part of his journey. And he has options available to him. He's still got his whole life ahead of him. He can go to London. He would rather do that than have the members of the Dead Poets Society take the fall for him and get to keep his job. He wouldn't want that future. So in that sense, it's a very mature ending. It's a very realistic ending. And I think it's a rare case where we get a solid ending that we can be happy with.
Agreed.
And now is the time in the podcast we give our Shat score for Dead Poets Society. The Shat score is our way of telling you how many wipes this movie takes to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It's living deep and sucking out all the marrow of life. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster of a movie. It is J. Evans Pritchard, PhD. Big D is a senior member of the podcast. Why don't you take the honors?
So Dead Poet Society surprised me. Going in, I was like 2+ hours. More rich kid problems. The characters, I don't know what I'm going to think, but it really did. I was not expecting it. I cared about their struggles. They came across as real, sympathetic. Robin Williams, I thought I was going to laugh at his messages. I thought it was going to be cheesy and just over inspirational and feel good, but no, it's powerful. There is no clean ending. He killed himself. He actually went through and did it. The parents have to live with it. The boys did what was right. They signed off on it to survive another day. Nobody wins in this situation. It was emotional. It was enjoyable. It was a character study I didn't expect. And against all odds, I can't believe this. I enjoyed it, Gene. 0.75 wipes might seem harsh, but it was really good. I really came out of it changed. I thought about my own life and what it is to be a man and how I should be more emotional with my daughter. And it had me questioning, but man, 0.75 wipes, people.
My only complaint about Dead Poets Society is that in some places it's overly simplistic. As an example, the poetry, right? They went with really obvious poets and they never really dig into, oh, Captain, my Captain, other than saying, oh, Captain, my Captain. The boys don't actually demonstrate a true understanding of poetry, which is kind of the point. But ultimately, as a film, that might not have been the goal. You messaged me and said that Dead Poets Society was like Top Gun. And I think you're absolutely right there. Top Gun's not really about how the Navy works or about being an aviator, right? It's a recruitment film. It glamorizes the world of naval aviation, much in the way that Dead Poets Society glamorizes poetry. And if it's enough to just get people interested in it, to see why it's important, sometimes that's good enough. And the thing that impressed me the most was that the movie didn't lean too heavily on Robin Williams. He is a big part of it. He's very good in it, but he really doesn't actually get that much screen time. And he also doesn't play the biggest role, right? Neil's death, it was predictable, but it was still powerful. It still meant something. And that's a hard trick to pull off. And even harder to pull off is to make a blockbuster, engaging film about poetry. Show me one other person who could pull that off. There have been many biopics and fictional films about painters. They flop. Why? Because it's really hard to convey why that's exciting. Movies about writers, about great practitioners of literature, they flop. Why? It's really hard to make that interesting. Somehow they took a story about poetry and why it matters, and they made over $200 million on it. And that is a feat in and of itself. I'm going 1 wipe.
And Gene, just to go back, you said the poetry was very basic, and it was aimed at me. It was aimed at the ones who never read poetry, who didn't really enjoy it. There's a scene where Todd, he's trying to pull it out of Todd. That Todd he had crumpled up what he had written. He said, look at the picture. Who is it? What's he doing? What's he feeling? Give me an action. It was kind of like poetry Mad Libs.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that I could see myself writing poetry and pulling feelings out of myself that I might not have thought were there. Or if you go into it thinking analytically, I'm going to write poetry, it doesn't come out like what it did here. So it was, I know it wasn't for you because you were the avid poet, the angsty poet as a youngster. For me, this was my Top Gun. Not that I'm going to sit down and start journaling, But I might one day try to write a poem for Eugene or for your daughter or something like that to just show how this movie affected me.
This is a great time to bring up, Big D, that I have launched a Shat Substack called Shat Stack. You can find that in Substack. You look up Shat Stack. And Big D, I would love if you would join the staff of the Shat Stack, where you could just write about stuff. Now, warning to the listeners, it is quite political at times. So this is not meant to be a part of the podcast. This is a supplementary reading, but it's about politics and news and parenting and consumer reports and all the things that are just on my mind that I like to write about. So if you guys are interested, join the Shat Stack on Substack, and maybe we'll get Big D as a guest writer. Maybe doing some poetry.
I would definitely do some poetry.
I'll put some poetry on there of my own from high school. It's really great.
I'd love to hear it.
All right. Between my one wipe and your 3/4 of wipe, that gives us an average wipe score of 0.875 wipes for Dead Poets Society.
It's very impressive, Gene. That now ranks this in the 58 spot, tied with Last the Mohegans, slightly better than another high school film, Rushmore, Conan the Barbarian, and Rounders.
Wow.
Slightly worse than E.T., Beetlejuice, Platoon, and Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
God damn. How about that, huh? I thought this was, I really, really thought this would not hold up. That's impressive. That's something.
Pretty darn good. And if I can make a recommendation to Eugene and our listeners, you last week went over your list of baby downtime things you wanted to watch. Please add The Holdovers. It could be an additional piece to this film. Came out in 2023. It's Paul Giamatti. And it's a school very much like this. And it is in the holiday holdover time. There's the teacher who gets stuck with the few kids who don't have families to go to. And it deals with a lot of the same themes as this film, but it was really good. And it's filmed in a way, I think they filmed it on film, so it looks like it's made in the 70s or the 80s. Performances are great, story's great, and I think you'd enjoy it.
Why do all the young male actors look alike?
Yeah, that's very true. They could all be Timothy Olyphant.
Dominic Sessa, Brady Hepner, and Ian Dolly are all in this film, and they all look like the same guy.
Well, those headshots, they look a lot alike, but I think in the film,
I mean, I'm sure they style them differently in the film, but what I'm saying is, like, these dudes walking around the street, they kind of look the same.
So you're saying that there's, in Hollywood, they like tall, skinny, attractive white guys with longer hair?
I'm just saying there was a time when Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger were the big stars, and they look different, and Bruce Willis, okay?
Yeah, but they didn't have, like, social media accounts. You didn't get on somebody's Instagram to promote their film.
Nelson looked very, very different from Michael J. Fox. God damn it.
You're going back to you're like wanting multiple like vibrant colored cars, Gene.
Yeah.
From last week. You're not happy with the gentrification of all of our media, our cars, our restaurants.
That's right.
You're inching towards that cabin in the woods.
This old man yells at sky. Well, Rob, thank you for the commission. Big D, what do we have coming up next week?
Oh, Captain, my Captain. Next week, Leroy Green, a young martial artist living in New York City, trains timelessly to attain the same level of mastery as Bruce Lee. One night, his life changes forever when he rescues a television personality, Laura Charles, from an evil businessman, Eddie Arcadian. Impressed with Leroy's bravery, Laura falls for Leroy. But to keep her safe, he will have to defeat a gang leader named Shonuff, the self-styled Shogun of Harlem, commissioned by Dalen D. Came out in '85. Very different than tonight's film, but it looks fabulous, Gene.
I get to go into my DVD library. This is so exciting. It's a rare occasion. Oh, man.
So the villain is Shonuff?
The Shogun of Harlem. Shonuff.
Shonuff.
God, We've been doing a lot of
voices.
Well, thank you, Dalen, for the upcoming commission. Thank you, Rob, for commissioning Dead Poets Society. Thank you to all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat The Movies. You can email us, host@shatpod.com. Also, go to shatpod.com and use the SpeakPipe feature to leave us a voicemail. We'd love to hear from you. You can support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all our information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all our information on our website, shatpod.com/TV, wherever I find podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next time for the following movie.
It's Berry Gordy's The Last Dragon. Audiences are lining up to see it. The critics are giving it glowing reviews, comparing it to Raiders of the Lost Ark for fast-moving action and fun. Starring Vanity and Timok, plus DeBarge performing their hit single, Rhythm of the Night, Berry Gordy's The Last Dragon. Directed by Michael Schultz, rated PG-13. Now playing at a theater near you.
Big D, what do you have coming up next week?
I just told you, it's Leroy.